bum, 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 bum. And then once that gets going, I'll start the podcast recording stream.
Right.
Okay. We are live on Facebook. So, Bobby, if you pull the video up on your phone, if you do that and you want to share it around, you can go ahead and start sharing it now before we start the main thing while I get the podcast set up.
Working on it.
It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be awesome. I love podcasting. It's the greatest.
I'm really getting into listening to podcasts a lot. And so it's really neat to be part of one that's going out.
Yeah. Okay, come on. I'm waiting.
Yeah, podcasts are great for when you're doing things around the house
or working out.
Driving. Work. Yeah, it was a big change up for me a couple of years ago when I started listening to podcasts instead of music while I was working out.
I'm gonna say hello to our Facebook audience while we're all chatting here. But what's awesome to me is the when I first started podcasting, because I've been podcasting for 13 years. When I first started my podcast was the month that the first iPhone came out. It was October 2007. Wow. And I used to have to explain to people what a podcast was before I could get them to listen to it. So yeah. It's funny how that works. Okay. Share it to virtual networking. Share it to small business owners. If everybody's jumping in here to watch this, it's going to be a great show today. We're talking about some groovy stuff, and I'm excited. Bobby always brings the fire, and of course, we always have the greatest guests. So we'll see what happens. Okay, and then write the post. Podcasting. It's all the marketing.
I can just figure out how to share more efficiently. That'd be great.
Yeah. If you pull it up on your phone and you're watching it and you hit share, you can share to groups just by hitting boom, 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 boom. But then
I got that. Now it's at a page to where like it's. Do I just hit start and that shares it?
It sounds like you're starting like a watching party, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's what.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you just hit start and it shares it. Just turn the volume down on it.
Oh no.
Otherwise, we're gonna echo like crazy.
See what?
Okay, I'm gonna type this in and we're gonna start the podcast. ITG number 19. I believe we're number 19. Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah, I got too many freaking windows open. That's what it takes. All the typos, because then you get in a hurry trying to do it right. Okay, so when I start the show, we'll intro it. Excuse me. We'll intro it, Amber, and then we'll chat for a minute. We'll go over a couple of quotes, and then we'll do your interview section, and then we'll move to the show end and all that stuff. It'll be easy peasy. But feel free, just like Bobby will, throw in your 2 cents whenever you feel led to do so. So,
okay.
All right, Bobby, we are starting. We're going live right now.
Let's roll.
Inspired, of extraordinary quality, as if arising from some external creative impulse. Greatness, the state, condition, or quality of being great. This is Inspired to Greatness.
Hello, friends. Welcome to the Inspired to Greatness podcast, the show all about spreading inspiration, motivation, and being great. I am your host, Matt Blake. I hope you're having an amazing day, my friends. Today we are talking about knowing your worth, something that is amazing, that will help you get ahead in this world, and I can't wait to chat about it. Welcome to my co-host, Bobby. How are you today, sir?
What's up? What's happening, brother? I'm fantastic, living life, enjoying the weather out here in good old bright, hot, and sunny Texas.
It ain't Florida. Somehow we always get onto the fact that it's Texas and it's not Florida on the podcast.
That's facts, brother.
That's okay. It's good. You'll trade the weather, a little bit of weather, for the economy and the price of housing.
Love it.
So
love it, bro. I love it.
Awesome. And I want to give a big howdy and welcome to our guest, Amber Rogers, here today from Tidal Resources. How are you, Amber?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate the invite, and I'm looking forward to listening to you guys and chiming in where I can. So
Beautiful,
thank you.
beautiful, beautiful. So, knowing your worth, folks, it's about knowing how much you're worth, knowing you're good enough, knowing that you're valuable, right? That kind of stuff. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes we beat ourselves up. Sometimes we let other people beat us up. And that's one thing you've got to stop doing in your life. I don't care how important that person is to you. Their opinion doesn't define the greatness that is you guys. And you're obviously great because you're listening to this podcast, so you know what it's all about. So, let's go over our topics for the quote today and discuss those a little bit maybe, and then we will learn all about Amber and what she does. So our first quote is from Morgan Harper Nichols, and that is, "Know your worth. Hold your own power. Be you." And one of the things about knowing your worth, if you take your worth and you define that, you're taking the power away from the outside world to determine what you're good enough for. And I think it's a big deal. You know, when we grow up, we have the bullies or the popular kids or whatever you want to call them these days who can make you feel like you're not good enough or make you feel like you're not one of the cool kids, you don't belong at this table or in that group or that clique. And that is something that's hard for kids to learn. There's a lot of ways to define your worth, and you have to internalize that and decide for yourself how good you are. Your self-worth should come from yourself and from God and not from outside sources or other people. Now, it's great to have a spouse who loves you and values you and knows, you know, supports you and cares about you and knows that you're worth a lot. But the problem is horrible things in the world can happen and that person can go away. And if all your worth is built up in what that person says, and whether it's divorce or a death or sickness or whatever could take that person out of your life, if that was all your worth was, then you don't have it inside anymore. So a big cautionary tale there about not letting your worth be dictated outside your own self and your faith. Roy T. Bennett said, "Strong people have a strong sense of self-worth and self-awareness. They don't need the approval of others." This is huge today, guys. When people are on social media, what do they always talk about? My video got this many likes. My video got this many views. My photo got this many shares. That is basically people doing things and changing their life and putting forward a face to get the approval or the likes or the hearts from others. It's dangerous, I think, with the youth of today, right? Is the little girls these days only feel popular by how many Instagram followers they have. And I'm glad there's a movement and there's people out there who know that's not what it's all about. They're kind of helping on Instagram. They took away where it doesn't show how many likes you have anymore, but you can still kind of see. Gary Vaynerchuk, who is like my spirit animal, my business guru, I love the guy, always talks about that. Who cares how many likes you have, and who cares what other people think? You do you because it's you, and you're passionate, and you love it. I get on TikTok, and I tell stupid jokes on TikTok. I do it because I love sharing stupid jokes with people. I love the eye roll. I am a dad
I love
joke
your jokes,
guy.
though, man.
I know you do.
Your jokes
I know
are good.
you do. Because you have good taste. But I don't do it because I want the approval of others. I get more people who tell me how horrible they are, the jokes are, but you got to be careful. And also you got to be careful with your words and how you make other people feel. So that's the other side of the coin, right?
Yeah.
My
When you do
wife's
things
in here
for the
laughing at
right
me.
reason, man.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. You know?
Oh.
I love, it's so true because comparison is a thief of joy, right? And with the socialistic world that we're running today through social media, it's so easy to compare yourself to others, and we can so easily deceive people by filters and things of this nature. So I think it's important that we don't do that, and you don't focus on, like you said, the likes and the loves and the comments and such, you know?
And
just
I know,
focus on what doing the right thing is.
Particularly with us, Bobby, I don't know, Amber, I don't know if you have, I think you said you had kids when we were talking earlier.
Yes.
It's really hard to impart that because as adults, one of the things about maturing is understanding that other people's opinions don't matter as much as you thought when you were younger. But our kids are so hung up on what their friends think about them and what the coach thinks about them and what their follow. Like Patrick and David, two of my boys, they have their own YouTube page, The Patch and Dave Show, and they have 500-something subscribers on YouTube. And they're used to be very concerned with what other people thought and which videos got most views. Now I love that they put dumb stuff on TikTok and they put dumb stuff on YouTube. They'll just live stream themselves walking down the street or going fishing, and they don't care, right? Just be like when we were kids, nobody was watching what you were doing. You were just out being a kid. And I love to see that there's a lot of kids just doing that. So,
I love that too, because, you get trapped in that type of mindset when you go to work for a corporate gig, because sometimes you get stuck in a situation to where possibly they don't like me. Do they like me? I'm not getting promoted because they don't like me. Oh, they like him or her more than they like me, right?
Yeah.
So next thing you know, here you are in this corporate gig trying to do things to impress other people, to be liked, because you think that's what's fitting the mold and what you need to do, right?
Sure. Or,
Crazy,
we're trying to buy a house right now. And, we just bought cars. And then it's the same. A lot of people are stuck in I'm a professional DJ. I got to look like a playa. I got to have a flashy car. If I invite people over to do a podcast at my house, what if my house isn't as nice as theirs? What are they going to think about me? And none of that stuff matters, really. It's about you. It's about the content of the character.
Keep it up with the Joneses.
So true.
Yeah. Okay, and our final quote before we get started is from Tim Fargo. If you want to improve your self-worth, and I love this, folks, if you want to improve your self-worth, stop giving other people the calculator. Woo! Come on now.
Interesting.
That is a great one. Like, I've never heard it that way. Like, who is tallying up and figuring what you're worth?
Right.
Man, I would rather measure my self-worth not against the fair market value, but how I line up with like Psalms or something. Good Lord. How good a person are you? How many people? And I think a lot of your self-worth can relate to other people in that how many people have you helped in your life? How many people have you made a positive impact? And that's a lot of what this podcast is about, right? We want to reach to other people. We want to make a positive impact. We want to share people and share stories. And that's a good thing. It might not, this podcast does nothing to my bank account but make it go down. So it's not about the money. It's about helping people and investing in the community and other things. So that's spectacular stuff. So we're going to talk about our beautiful guest today, Amber Rogers from Title Resources. So tell us who you are, what you do there, how you got into it, whatever kind of story about you and your work you want to give us.
Sure. Thank you. Well, Title Resources is a really amazing company that was started about 30 years ago, and my entire team recently joined the organization. We had worked for a national company and things had shifted a little bit. And so, especially in the DFW area, there are a lot of title companies. And so, in looking at a place to go, this company really stood out among the crowd. And so my background, I hate to even say this, I'm approaching my 30th year in the business. I was an engineering student when the attorney hired me to man the front desk. And so I really, really started as truly entry level and quickly became a closer only out of sheer desperation. We had a closer quit on my 19th birthday and I started doing commercial closings that day. And it was a lot.
That's
so,
cool.
With that said, I've had an amazing career. Obviously I wound up not being an engineer. It was not for me. And sometimes you don't know until you start going down that path. And so the title insurance industry as a whole is an amazing way for people to have a career. It's very, there are a lot of men in it, but it's very women-centric in the office a lot of times. And so also it gives, pathways to leadership. And so throughout my career, became a commercial escrow officer for quite a few years, and then ultimately branch manager. And so now I'm the vice president of commercial development, which does not mean I don't help residential clients. I have long time, very loyal realtor, lender, bank, brokers, developers, my loyal following that has come with me. But really what I focus on today is helping developers put together and close their transactions, as well as apartment construction deals throughout the state of Texas. So, I'm really living out my passion at this point. I've worn a lot of hats and can wear a lot of hats, but I think this ties in with what you're talking about today. Knowing my worth, this is the thing I love that I am most worthwhile doing for my company and for myself. And so I had to make that decision. So when I made the move over to Title Resources, I had made the decision to not be a branch manager anymore, not do operations, And so this company has allowed me to truly define my role where my passion lies. And they saw the worth in me to give me that opportunity. And so
That's
it's
very,
been
very
great.
cool. Very cool. So, this is a question I ask every guest. How have you used knowing your worth to grow in your career?
Sure. It's interesting, a move that I made, and I think we're going to talk about my daughter at some point, but she's my medical child. She's 13 now. And so, throughout the course of many, many surgeries and years of medical care and coordinating, I've had to make some of my decisions based on that. What is her worth? Because I'm the one that needs insurance or whatever that looks like in my decision-making process. But at one point when I was moving back to the Metroplex, I took really a very low base salary but high commission deal that gave me a lot of flexibility. And I knew my dollar figure worth was a lot more than that, but it was that trade-off of my time was needing to be spent on her. That was more worthwhile. Her medical coordinating was taking a lot of time at that time. So
Sure.
I was blessed to be given that opportunity. And then when I moved and took a more traditional role, I have a number in my head, and it's driven in our industry a lot by how many transactions you close, dollar volume figures. And so there's a pretty simple formula, except when you get into higher level roles like vice president, SVP, because I can do operations and some compliance. I've done both, but anytime I do operations and compliance, that takes away from my sales efforts. There's only one of me. So I have to determine what's most worthwhile and what I do day in and day out also. And so the more dollar revenue that I can bring to the company, it's not totally tied to that, but it makes our office more successful, our company more successful, and then I get paid better just through those efforts.
Yeah. Awesome. So, and you kind of touched on this a little bit, but how has knowing your worth or knowing what's important to you been? I guess we just talked about that. Been a factor in your business and in your career. You've known what's important and what's worth it in your life to make decisions. So that's awesome. So, go ahead.
I was just going to say, yeah. I mean, knowing your worth. There's market industry standards, payroll wise, but commission structures can be different. The structure of your whole organization can be different. There's different business models out there now. And so when I was negotiating to get paid for my worth in dollars, I came with a number in mind, but I also have to prove that out to my company to measure my worth to them. And so that's always a daily thing that we're looking at. And I was part of a webinar recently, and they were talking about lead indicators and lagging indicators. So a lagging indicator, that's what I did last month, how many units I closed, how many dollars revenue was brought in. But I really love that concept because when I'm trying to establish my worth to my worthiness of doing business with, I am trying to bring those things to my client and say, we are worthwhile to do business with because we do these various things for you. A title company is a title company. We all sell the same thing. We're regulated in the state of Texas. Mm-hmm. So that's really the only thing we can differentiate ourselves with. And we want to make sure our customers know how much they are worth to us. And that takes interaction, education, just all of the different things that next level of service that they need. And sometimes they don't even know they need it. Sometimes we're leading them into the new technology or the new processes within our industry, like the remote online notarization that a lot of people are talking about because of COVID. So just being that resource to people. And I just have a reputation in the industry of fixing really problem transactions. Some of the craziest, wildest, weirdest, I could do a whole episode on crazy title pay, divorce, probate, just a lot of different things. And it's very sensitive in nature what we do for people because they're kind of exposing their life at that point, or they're emotional, they're moving and buying and selling. And so on the commercial side, not so much, but they need different things. They need to not have problems in their transactions. So we're also problem solvers. And, that's when they look at us and go, okay, this is a title company. It's not worth me giving up this title company because I know they'll do it right.
Yeah. And that brings me perfect onto my next question. is, a lot of times a service company is a service company, like a DJ is a DJ, or a hairstylist is a hairstylist. Well, that's not a good one. They have skill levels, but like a mortgage company is a mortgage company, right? Where they're all going to provide the same service. They're all going to have to meet at least a certain minimum standard, but it's the extra, it's the above and beyond, it's the things that are not listed on an invoice total that make a difference. So how are you? What's your unique factor that makes you stand out from others?
Personally, because I have such so many years in the industry, obviously I have a lot of just experience in general, but I did take a time out of my career and had a real estate, or still have a real estate broker's license, but owned a brokerage. So I also sit in the other seat. I can see from a realtor's perspective, or commercial brokers putting a deal together. In one of my classes originally, getting my license, I had an instructor tell me this really great concept that a real estate transaction is like a fragile egg, and you hand it off to each person. And if one person drops the egg, the whole transaction can fall apart. And so it's really important what we do, that we stay focused on, yes, we do our tasks correctly, but also keep people encouraged if they are having a difficult transaction, whatever that looks like, to say, we're here for you. We're going to hold your hand. We're going to make sure you understand. And we can explain it to you very high level or in layman's terms. And then you find yourself tailoring the way you deliver your product to that customer's need. And that looks totally different in every transaction, depending on what's going on.
Yeah, totally.
I love that. I think the single most important thing that we can do as business owners, employees, as associates representing a business, is to make our customer feel important, that they are the number one priority, right? I can think of a time when I was getting yard service, and the most frustrating thing for me was that I would have a different yard technician out there every month.
Yeah.
So one of my prearrangements was, hey, if you are going to pass the buck to someone else, make sure they have the notes, make sure it's handed off correctly, right? This way there's no miscommunication in the lines. I thought, like, well, you just nailed it on the bun. I think that is huge. Something I also admire about you and where you're at right now in your position is that you started from ground level.
Mm-hmm.
So you have all that other expertise and knowledge and experience behind you, backing up and assuring what you do is 100% efficient and guaranteed, right?
Absolutely.
That's cool.
And it's fun and funny, because I wind up sitting on a lot of Zoom meetings, working on pre-development with people who are putting transactions together. And that's not really a normal title company role, but because I've closed nearly everything, I sit on those meetings to help my customers who are realtors or brokers putting those transactions together before I ever get the contract, if they want me to, just to be that second set of eyes, second set of ears. I'll say things sometimes from a broker's perspective, sometimes from the title insurance perspective, or what I think an underwriting attorney might say, or the questions that need to be asked. And a lot of times I'm providing connections to vendors like surveying companies, project engineers, if people don't have those resources, because I come in contact with so many good companies out there, I'm able to make some referrals that way too. And then it makes my life easier in the transaction because I know their work and they know mine.
Yeah.
And so I think that's been a really positive thing in my role now, that I've been able to help so many people put their deals together early on. And then that makes them loyal to me, because I've been involved in the transaction. Someone can't slip in another title company at the very end of the negotiations. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a good way to do it, for sure. So before we move on to a little bit different topic with you, I wanted to ask, where should everyone find you online? Like, is there a Facebook page? Is there a website? Where do you prefer people go to find you?
Yeah, so our Facebook page is Title Resources Southlake. Our home office is in Denton. We have multiple locations in Denton, Decatur, Southlake, and really we utilize remote notaries. We close everywhere throughout the state of Texas, and physically we're right between right west of Carroll and 114 in Southlake, and we're building out a new office on the first floor, so we're in temporary space there now, but we're super excited about that. If we can finally get our permits with the city and get rolling on that, we're really looking forward to that whole process.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. Okay, so 2 more things I want to chat with you before we move on to some other stuff. Number one is when we talk about knowing our worth, there's another side of that coin, maybe, that is knowing other people's worth and knowing what someone is really worth, even if other people or maybe that person can't see it. For instance, if you have kids, they may not realize what a unique, amazing, special person they are, and you help them learn that. And I know you wanted to talk a little bit about special needs kids, and we talked before the show briefly, but that is a great example of knowing worth, both someone else seeing the worth in someone and someone recognizing the worth in themselves. So talk a little bit about that, and we'll go from there.
Sure. And my daughter is beautiful and is amazing. She's been on such a long journey, and I've been there with her the whole time. But when you are different, she is has her physical challenges, but she is also a dyslexic child. So we get the best of both worlds, I guess. So I've been fortunate to be asked to be on a committee with the district for PTA, where we will be advising the school district, GCISD, some of those needs that kids have, so they don't feel different. It is important that if they have a learning difference, not disability, that they're still with their friends. They still are getting the same instruction and quality of education as every other kid. And so, even in the healthcare realm itself, early on, I found a very large support group, and because of my daughter's very rare condition, she had a surgery scheduled in Fort Worth, and I was just going along, and these moms told me, that's not where you go to get this done. This is very, very rare. You go to Cincinnati.
Wow.
And I thought, I'm in Texas. I'm going to have to travel for this. And it was the best decision ever. And so those friends are my lifeline. They are still friends to this day. We still communicate. And so when you talk about the worth of your friends, I have a lot of friends, and I'm blessed to say that, but these people are just the cream of the crop. They were there day one. And so all of our kids within that world struggle from the differences. Yeah. And so, we support each other. We emotionally take care of each other. It's a difficult road, not only for us, but for the kids themselves. And it's such a trying time during COVID, especially, to deal with all of that. So, when you look around and you go, are these people in my life worth it? I'm like, oh my gosh, there's not even any question.
Yeah. That's
absolutely.
I love that you said a learning difference instead of a learning disability, because one of our boys has dyslexia, and so he goes to a special dyslexia teacher. Well, now he Zooms with his dyslexia teacher, but the great thing about that has been there, and I think really the dyslexia, people who struggle and have dyslexia, I think it makes them stronger when they get out the other end of it. Like you can lifelong struggle with it, but most people come to a certain mastery and are able to function perfectly fine. You wouldn't even know. So my son, they started teaching them now that what they teach them is to write in cursive instead of print, because the way it connects the letters is easier for their mind to not jumble the letters and words around. And so they don't teach handwriting and cursive in normal classes. So you're going to have these kids who were different or had a disability are going to have this additional skill that other kids don't have. And the tools that the special kids, the different kids, are taught, the tools they use to master their difference are going to be something that normal kids don't have. And so there's going to be special tools and tricks and all this stuff that these kids who, decades ago were looked on as different and sad for them, and they can't function, are now we realize these kids, when given these new special tools, excel way more than your average student. And I think it's a great. I love the learning differences, not learning. That's great. I'm going to use that all over the place now.
That's interesting, Matt. That the way they're teaching that. Amber, would you agree that having a child that learns differently than others, that it's important? This is where my struggle is, because my daughter learns differently as well. We tend to focus on what they're not able to do, and then we focus a lot of attention in building what they can't do and what they struggle with doing, instead of focusing on what they're actually really good at. And then what they're really good at kind of gets put to the side and pushed off, and then that gets left. right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
do you think it's important that we tend to not only focus on the struggle, but focus and really pay a lot of attention to what they're really good at as well, instead of trying to force, what is the saying, a round peg into a square hole, or whatever,
Yeah.
whatever it is, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So my daughter's actually what they call 2E because she's gifted and dyslexic. And so she was hard to diagnose because of that, and had a delay in diagnosing her because she was gifted enough to overcome the dyslexia, but dyslexic enough that she would struggle. And so that was a really interesting thing to start learning about. And so, I had always said both of my kids are very involved in activities. And my running joke is that's a full ride to TCU. You're doing that activity. It's whether it's scouting, we're involved in everything. I'm like, that's a full ride right there.
Yep.
But then I had to rethink that. I'm like, is she going to go to TCU? She loves to bake. That is her passion. She loves. And so we're blessed in our district to have the tech center. And so she and I have been having those conversations. She will eventually start looking at colleges, but I told her if she wanted to go through the tech route in high school and then go to the Culinary Institute of America in Napa, wouldn't that be a cool place to go start your career? So,
Wow.
whatever that looks like for her, I'm trying to paint a picture, show her that she does have different avenues to her.
Sure.
And then she'd also mentioned possibly being a child life specialist, because we've had so many help us through the years. Cook Children's in Fort Worth in particular has a therapy dog service there, and their child life specialists will come in, especially with invasive procedures, and bring the dogs in and really calm everyone down, not just the child, but the parents. It's such a stressful thing to go through, whatever surgery. And so that would be great too. And so they have a nursing program. So I think that's the thing. We can't say you can't do this, you won't do that. It's like, here's some possibilities for you. And like I said, paint that picture for these kids.
Yes,
that's awesome.
I admire that so much about you. That is awesome.
I'm a big proponent. And now when kids are young, especially when kids are young, probably middle school and younger, I think we focus on the well-rounding of the child. I think we focus, you need to learn as much as you can in everything. But as you get older, especially when you're in high school, college, and an adult, I think, and there's a lot of people who disagree with me, so free to disagree with me on it, but I think, and then I'll tell you why you're incorrect, Bobby. But the thing to do to be successful once you're older and you have a reasonably rounded education is, if you're good at one thing and bad at another, you take the thing you're bad at, and that's not what I'm worrying about. I'm going to focus on my strengths. Particularly, let's talk about it from a business standpoint. We're a business podcast. If you're really good at doing XYZ widget construction, so go focus your business on XYZ widget construction. And then you're like, oh, I'm really bad at the customer service. I outsource the stuff you're not good at. Do not waste your time and your energy getting better at stuff that at the best, you're going to still be just, average at best. Focus on the things where you excel, where you can be truly exceptional, and the things where you are going to be subpar or average at best, have someone else do that. If you have a big company, hiring the right people with the right skills is a very important thing to do. But you have to be self-aware enough to know what it is you're good at. And I'm not good at accounting. I have online software that does my accounting, but if I have to do any serious stuff with my books, I'm not going to get on YouTube and try to figure out how to do it. I'm going to go find someone to do that, right?
Yeah, but you nailed it, Matt. It's not that you can't do it or that you can never become better at doing it.
Yeah.
Your awareness around that you struggle with it and it's best for you to outsource it,
right,
is paying more dividends for you to struggle on through it.
Right.
Especially when it comes to business, right. Man. I think that's huge outlook on how to do it.
When I finally fully embraced this past year, that's when I decided I am not doing my contracts. I'm not doing payments for my clients. All that stuff now, I don't do contracts. I don't do agreements. I don't do payments. That is all handled by a third party. And then even to the point where following up the client to get their list of songs they want played and their timeline and stuff at their wedding, I don't do any of that. All I do is meet with people, talk about my business, sell myself, and then show up and perform. I work on my DJ skills 90% of my business. The rest of it is a third party that handles, who I love, are amazing people, and they are great at the stuff I suck at. And so partner with other people, position your business so that you don't have to do the things that you're not going to be exceptional at. And I think it's huge. And I wish the schools would, and I understand why you can't. You have to develop, like, all the kids need to learn math to a certain degree. All the kids need to learn to read and write to a certain degree. Like, you have to learn some science. You can't be walking around be like, I wonder what would happen if I stuck a fork in this outlet. Like, you have to have a certain degree. It's called common sense, and that's what they learn in school, common sense. Yeah. They should also be teaching them how to spend money and how credit works. But, it's 2020. We have other resources to teach our kids about that kind of stuff. If you're a good parent, you're teaching them that already. And, my kids run their business, Supernova Entertainment. They're DJs. They have their own credit card where I pay them their money. They know how to budget and save. So yeah, I think it's on us as parents to get our kids to that degree. The schools can't do everything. So
totally partner. Like you said, partnership.
And
right?
I say that as my wife's a teacher, and in the fall I'm going to be a teacher. So, like, I love teachers, obviously. But anyway, so I want to do something new on the show, and I'm glad Amber's here. I think she'll be great at it. So I got this. I got these things. Doing a podcast is hard. Especially when I started, there was no tools. But I found these things called pod decks, right? This guy made pod decks, and there's a bunch of different decks. I said, sell me every one you have. So I got his whole library of pod decks. And there are things like Would You Rathers, the episode deck, the What the Heck deck, and the interview deck. So I pulled this question. I'm going to do this every episode. I'm going to pull a question out of the one of the interview decks, and everyone on the show is going to answer it. And I'll go first because obviously I saw this a few minutes ago, so I've had a few seconds to think about it. But I'll draw a card, read the question. We'll all give an answer. It'll be intuitive, amazing. Gems and rainbows will fall from the sky. Everyone will be better because of it. So the question today from the pod deck, I'm going to see if they have an affiliate program or something because I should make some money off this. But if you could send a message to the entire world, what would you say in 30 seconds? And so here's mine. What I would say is, we're here on this earth to care for, take care of, and love each other. If you are struggling in your life, it is because you are not taking care of and loving your neighbor and the people around you. When you develop a sense of selflessness and care for the other people in this world, you will be taken care of. That's my message to the world. Woo! Bobby.
That's beautiful. Matt, that's actually, like, I'm just going to steal it from you, bro.
You stole my answer. Yes, thank you. You stole my answer. I like really these things. It's a very introspective question. Like, you have the responsibility to deliver a message to the entire world. What kind of values are you going to put into that message?
That's huge, man. That's huge. It goes on the basis of, like, what legacy you're going to leave, right?
Yeah, legacy.
And love is huge. Love is huge. Make that impact.
If more people would pick that, people would pick that, man, it would be awesome.
No doubt. No doubt, man.
I love love.
So I was at a. Go ahead.
I even love loving the people who don't like me, because it befuddles them. When you have, and we're adults, we don't really have enemies. You grow out of enemies when you get out of high school, right? But I've got a few. You know who you are.
But how can love grow if the hatred's festering in there?
Exactly.
You have to get it. You have to get it out. You have to let it go.
You have to do whatever you need to do to move past frustration and disappointment. Because as Yoda said, fear leads to hate, hate leads to anger, anger leads to the dark side. And
may the fourth be with you.
May the fourth be with you as well, sir. And I'm a good Lutheran, so I will say, and also with you. Anyway, so I like it. All good stuff. I mean, I think everyone I talk to, everyone's message is love. So I don't even know how any of the world can be in a bad position like it is. But, there are people out there who are selfish and hateful and evil and mean and
greedy and all that good old stuff.
The most difficult thing is absolutely loving those people too and wishing the best for them. And it's so hard. And that's probably what I struggle most with when I see people being mean or hateful or ugly, or they're being unfair in how they treat people, or they're causing difficulty in my life or my kid's life. I have a hard time loving that person. And, that's okay. It's okay. It's a struggle for everybody.
It's okay, man. It's okay. It's a struggle. I was asked the question, when you're uncertain and unsure of what to do, ask yourself, what does love require of you to do?
Yeah.
And if you ask yourself, man, it's a reminder of that. And that's a huge game changer to kind of switch that mindset over to that love.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Well, we're going to go over some business tips. This is the center section of the show where we do a few business tips. I'll have a tip for you, a book you should read, and a tool you should try. And then we'll wrap up with some quotes, and we can discuss them, and then I'll wrap it up in some amazing soliloquy of beautifulness. So my first tip, and really this is something that I've struggled with because, the best laid plans I've struggled with, but I've finally come to embrace it. We've had a lot of different, our life has changed radically in the past 6 months as far as how everybody, really, not just us, but we've had additional changes. So my tip is more of an introspective thought process, and that is, don't be married to your business plan. Flexibility is going to be key to growth, and you can look at COVID as an example. I grow my business, which I can't even do right now because nobody can have a wedding, but I grow my business by networking. If nobody can get together, we cannot network. So I do Zoom meetings now. I run 2 Zoom meetings a week. It's awesome. Lots of people in there. Lots of people who didn't even network with me before are showing up. People who had to miss meetings all the time are now able to show up. But, my business, I had a plan for my business. I had a plan for how I was going to do things. I was going to break out on my own this year, which I did, but I was going to be my own company, and I was going to handle all of it. And then some changes happened, and the best way to do it was to partner with Party Time Texas, who I'm an exclusive DJ with. I'm still me. I'm still my business. I'm still DJ Matt Blake, but they do all my booking. They do all that stuff. And it was not how I imagined my business happening and working, but is the best decision for doing what I want to do in the future and growing the way I want to. Because I was planning on forming a business with my sons and just the 3 of us being the employees, but it's not going to work that way. And so the boys now are forming their own business. It's their deal. I'm not even in it. I mean, I help them, I sell them, I handle the money because they're 11 and 13. They're good at DJing, but they're outsourcing running the business to me. So
you have to be flexible, bro.
You do have to be flexible.
Yeah, a goal has to be flexible. It's a major component.
You might just
of it.
Uproot and move to Texas from Florida. You probably years ago did not think that was what was going to happen, but things change in your life, and you have to roll with the punches. You have to be flexible, and you cannot be married to any idea. You can be married to the big 30,000-foot view of your picture, but if you refuse to change, that refuses to grow. So.
That's great, man. That's great. I made a post the other day just like that. I'm not exactly where I thought I'd be 3 years into my leaving corporate, but you know what? I truly believe, because my faith is in God, that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah. I had some real bad stuff happen 3 or 4 years ago in my life, completely in all of it. Yeah, I'm big proponent of you got to own it. Everything that happens in your life, good or bad, is on you. And so of course it's my fault, but it made me change where I go to church. And the church that we're in now has been the greatest factor in the growth of me and my kids. And if I hadn't hit rock bottom and been living the garbage life, I wouldn't have changed to this church. And so it's kind of amazing. So a book to read for you guys is this book right here. It's called None of Your Business. It's by some Texas people. It was made in Texas. Shawn, Dill, and Lacey book. A winning approach to turn service providers into entrepreneurs. These guys are chiropractors. Dr. Casey Sanders, one of the co-hosts of the show that's going to start joining us soon. I got to chat with him. He suggested this book. These guys make the Black Diamond Club. Really good read if you have a business that serves other people. You can apply these principles to any business, but it's called None of Your Business. None of Your Business. Pick it up. I got it on Amazon, super less than $20, and you can get a membership to the Black Diamond Club in this book. And a tool to try. This is the tool I use for project management, time tracking, invoicing, and my accounting. And so it's got to be easy because I don't do that stuff. It's called AndCo, AND.co, AndCo. It's made by the folks who do Fiverr. Fiverr is that gig website where you can do things or buy things for $5. I've done over $4,000 worth of work on Fiverr. I don't do it anymore. It was about 14 months. I did like $3,000 or $4,000 in work on Fiverr. $5 at a time. So, but you can
Vacation money, baby.
You can do upgrades and all that stuff. Yeah. If people say they can't make money, I tell them they're foolish and wrong or uneducated. Come here and I'll show you how to make some money.
Level awareness, baby.
Yeah. But &Co is great because it allows you to send proposals and projects to clients. Then you can do invoicing. You can collect deposits. It'll connect to PayPal, which is what I use for banking. I know it's a bad idea. I just don't have a bank account yet. And it'll also connect to your bank accounts so that it pulls in all your transactions so you can automatically mark things as this is a business expense, this is not, this is a business expense. And so at any point, I can log into my website, look, and say, oh, this is how much money I've made this year. You can set goals. I set a goal to invoice a certain amount by the end of the first quarter, and I was watching that percentage drop every time I sent an invoice. So, &Co, it's great. I love it. I don't get paid anything for these suggestions. Just freaking do it. If you have a thing you love, do it. But this is a good one. So, all right.
Interesting.
We have 1, 2, 3 more quotes. C.S. Lewis, spectacular author, C.S. Lewis, said,
My favorite.
"We are what we believe we are." Relating to your self-worth, that is all about self-awareness, man. If you think you are the best, most amazing DJ in North Texas, ladies and gentlemen, you can be the best, most amazing DJ in North Texas. I'm going to have to go away first. But, you are what you believe you are. And there's a lot of law of attraction is a real thing. It might sound like mumbo jumbo or sound like, oh, that's just some crazy spiritual Anglican stuff, whatever you think. But to a degree, the law of attraction is real. If you are a positive person who is optimistic and sees success coming your way, that's what's going to happen. If you're constantly looking backwards at your defeat, at your failures, at, oh my gosh, what if this happens? You are just not going to see as much success. It's about mindset. Your mindset is an incredibly powerful thing. If you believe you're worthless, you're probably going to become worthless, which is what's so dangerous about these kids who either don't have a father around, don't have a good mother, situation, who don't have parents telling them what they're worth. So, it's very, very important. So Wayne Dyer said, self-worth comes from one thing, thinking that you are worthy. These quotes are all saying the same thing.
On point.
It's about, if you like, I don't think I'm worth anything, or I don't think I can do it. Well, that's in your head. It's all what you believe you can do. These two quotes are absolutely related. So, and finally, Sonya Parker said, until you know your worth, you'll continue to seek other people's approval just to feel good about yourself. You can feel good about yourself and have no people around you. You can live on an island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, which, by the way, would be amazing, and not talk to a single person, and you can know that you're worthy and you're worth something because you know you can feel good about yourself. You don't have to have other people to tell you that. It's not about who likes or doesn't like your Instagram or TikTok video. It's not about how many people like your face. It's not even about the people who love you and tell you you're amazing. That's great. I had somebody make fun of me on TikTok the other day because of the gap in my teeth down here. I told a joke, and their comment was, I'll tell the joke now. The joke was, listen, before you criticize someone, you need to walk a mile in their shoes, because 1, you'll be a mile away and they can't hear you, and 2, you'll have their shoes. And the guy said, maybe you should, instead of criticizing, you should ask them who their dentist is. I'm like, oh, what a jerk. What a jerk. I'm just
that's on them.
Statement.
But whatever. People's criticism of you, this is a giant gem, folks. People's criticism of you says way more about that person than it does about you. Their mindset is limited. Their belief in their self and their self-worth is limited because they need you to come down to their level. We've talked about this before. We've talked about this exact same thing before. So to wrap everything up, knowing your worth also means taking responsibility for your worth and your success and failures. Knowing that you have control over your life because it's all your fault, and owning that responsibility is both freeing and incredibly empowering. I can succeed because it's all on me, not because my wife and my kids and my job and the great job I had, the opportunity I was given. It's all because I worked hard for it and I was able to succeed. You can't let other people and other things determine your worth. You are more than your job, more than your paycheck, more than your net worth. Okay? You're more than your social media following. You are a complete, unique being, an original, one of a kind. The creator of the entire universe does not make mistakes. He made you. God made you with a purpose and a reason, and you were made by the God that made the entire earth and the stars, so who are you or anyone else to decide that that creation is worthless? You think the most powerful being that has ever existed, the one who created everything, would make something that is worthless? Your opinion is not that incredible, okay? Knowing your worth is about recognizing your purpose and your gifts and knowing that you bring value to this world, that your talents and attributes are completely unique. You are the only one who can be you, and you are worth exactly what you decide you're worth. Probably more, to be honest with you. Know your worth, folks. It's probably a great deal more than you estimate. And finally, choosing to let other people determine your worth is just about being too lazy and too scared to do it yourself. Suck it up, own your awesomeness, write your own badass story, and get over fear, get over being lazy about your life. Take it, it's your own life, define it, own it. You're a freaking rock star, go act like it. That's what I have today. So
Yeah, baby, bring it.
Fired up.
I love it. You know, defining your purpose, right? Be curious. Discover your gifts and talents, which are going to lead you to something that lights you up and fires you up.
Yeah.
And when you get lit up and fired up inside, you can't sleep at night.
Yes.
That drives you. Find that purpose. How do you find the purpose? Doing what excites you.
Do what excites you. Do what you love. Follow your passion. Be incredibly passionate about claiming the awesome life that is yours for the taking. And it's all about knowing your worth and knowing your value in this world. So thank you so much, Bobby. Great show with you, as always, my buddy. You're just a spectacular person. I love you. Amber, thank you so much for joining us. Great.
Thank you for having me.
Great to have you on here. Great to share your story and great to have your point of view on all this stuff. I want to thank all our listeners for the podcast and all those who watch us live on Facebook each week. Thanks for joining us on Inspired to Greatness. Please check back each and every week for fresh tips and new guests. Great stuff we're going to talk about. Visit our website at itgpodcast.com. Look for us on Spreaker. We're on iTunes, iHeart, Spotify. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, please visit itgpodcast.com/beourguest. If you have a question or a topic suggestion, you can email the show at inspiredtogreatnesspodcast@gmail.com. You can find the show on Facebook at Inspired Podcast, Instagram at Inspired to Greatness Podcast, and remember, everything and all those links is on our website, itgpodcast.com. Thanks again, my friends. I want you to do amazing things. Be awesome. Own your story.
Thank you all.
You are worth it. Go inspire, motivate, and dominate. Thanks. All right. And I'm going to stop the live stream. Everybody who joined us on Facebook, thank you guys so much. You are the real G's. You are the real G's. So, my thing just...
Amber, nice meeting you, Amber.
It was nice to meet you, too. Thank